everybody, I toast to you and all you do. I hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. Yeah, it's Wednesday. Anyways, so it is the time of year when fall is, it's fall and we all love this time of year. And I think everybody kind of finds themselves bringing things inside and creating little altars, even if they're really informal. Which just got me to thinking about altars in general. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to just talk a minute about altars. I was trying to figure out how to make comments on the video but I can't figure it out. Someday I'll get it. We'll be way up on all the technology. Anyways, so I'm gonna share some pictures that I have after I'm done so that you can see my altars, and then like a traditional altar, or what I guess would be considered a traditional altar. First and foremost, I guess let's talk about a traditional altar. When you have a traditional altar, it typically is going to have all of the elements represented. It'll have the goddess and the god. It'll have your athame. It'll have your it'll have lots of different elements, and depending on what you're doing or how structured you are, will kind of decide how many of those elements appear on your altar. Sometimes when you think about it in that terms, though, it can be a little bit overwhelming because that's a lot that you have to have on your altar just to do an offering or just to do one thing. And I think that sometimes that can hold people back, which is one of the reasons I'll be sharing the pictures of my altars down below, because they are anything but traditional. Really, your altar should be a representation of your practice. So what you're doing and what's important to you. If you're, if you are, like in my case, a kitchen witch, my stove top, the ledge above my stove is one of my altars. And it's set up with idols and things that are important and to help bless the space. I have one in my garden that I was going to take a picture of, but the tomato plant that I planted next to it has literally consumed it, and you can't see it. So there's not, maybe when it's in the springtime, we'll be able to see it again. Anyway, so I always like to tell people before they go out and buy anything, stop and go walk around your house. Go take a look around your house at spaces that you've already set up with items that are important to you. And often you'll find that you already have these places, altars, set up and already representing something specific. They're the areas where you collect special knickknacks or memorabilia or whatever it is, but we all kind of have those spaces around our house. My kids already have them. They have baskets with shells. They had to organize all their stuff. So they have a basket of shells. They have a basket of rocks. I made them get rid of the leaves because we had an appraisal. It was a thing. I just had to be spotless. But they were really cute in organizing their collections of rocks and sticks and different things like that. But I think most people find that when they walk around their house and they start looking, they're like, oh, I have this shelf, I have this ledge, I have this space, I've already put these things. I have this thing that really reminds me of the gods, or a specific element or an energy that I practice with. And when you start bringing those together in one place, you already have everything that you need, and it doesn't have to be this rigid thing where you have to have the goddess here and the god here, and the elements are all represented in a circle around the central pentagram, and we have our thing. And I'm not saying it's never that way. There are appropriate times to do that when you're holding a high ritual or you're doing a specific, have very specific intent. Then you go to do those things. But normally rituals like that are done in a group, and it doesn't require everyone going out and buying something new. Everyone brings one aspect. I have a besom, I have a this, I have a that, and they all bring them together and they arrange them just right on the table space, and then they proceed from there. So you don't have to go out and buy everything and make this perfect arrangement and have every perfect little idol and offering tray and incense burner and everything all at once. Start with what you have. Create a space and then use it. I find that a lot of times you get excited in your early practice, you're like, yeah, I'm so excited and I'm going to make an altar. You know, I had one in the north window and a south window, and I had an apartment that had all but one side, so each one had it, and then there was one up against a wall, and it was a thing. It was overwhelming, and then you end up not looking at them. You're like, I don't have time for this. And it just sits there, and it gets dusty, and then you're like, I don't know what to do, and then you feel bad. You're like, okay, I gotta do something. And your altar should be a usable space. This is a space that you come to ground and center and focus, to communicate, to pray, to honor, you know, whatever it is that you need to do. But it's a using, working space. It's something that you come to. My favorite altar is the one that I have in the kitchen. I have one above my hearth, and then one where we keep the corn dollies that we make. And it's also a fairy space. So I make offerings to the fairies there. And it's just one of my favorite because I look at it every day. I use it every day. If I'm making something, I'm like, oh, I made these cookies. I'll leave one here, or I'll leave a chocolate chip, or a little pinch of sugar, random shiny things. My kids stick stuff up there. I just cleaned it out for Maboon because that's when we burn our corn dollies and we put a new one. So I took everything out of that altar space. We burned most of it and then started a new space with the new corn dollies. But I found like little bunnies and random things and an onion and just other little random things. Now the onion was still good. It was one that must have come out of the garden that one of my kids must have picked and stuck it in there at some point. But we ate it and it was good. And that's, you know, so when I clean it out, we use the things appropriately and we reset it up, and now it's nice and fresh and clean, and we'll start over again. But it is a working, using space, and that's what's important. You don't want to create a space that just then sits there and you don't look at, and then it collects dust, and then it builds guilt, and then you're like, oh, I'm not doing enough, and this isn't enough, and it's not enough. No, you have to create a space that is good for you, that works for you, and that you can go to on a regular basis, even if it's just to, like I said, for our fairy offering, leave some sugar, leave a little cup of milk, leave a whatever. You're already pouring the milk, why not make a little cup for the fairies or whoever you're making offerings to? And use that space productively and all the time, not just as a ritual space of, oh, I can't touch this. You know, when you need that stuff, pull it out. Otherwise, it's there. Yeah, I think that's that. I'll share some pictures in the comments below just so that you can see some examples. I'll put in like a traditional altar, and then I'll show them my altars, just because nothing like that. I mean, I even have a working ritual space, and because it's a working space, it's really cluttered and it just has a lot going on, and it's kind of, but I'll show the space so that you can see it doesn't have to be that perfect space. Now, if I was to go do like a big public ritual, we would create a space that had all of those formal elements, because it's a good place to help everyone focus their intentions and focus their, you know, energy when you're working in a group like that. So yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know, and don't forget to like the channel and the page, and go to the YouTube stuff and subscribe to everything that's going on, the podcast and everywhere. The links are all over, so if you're here and you're seeing this, just look around and find another link. There's so much more. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day, and we will talk to you next Wednesday.